Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. We're going to go ahead and get started. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah,
All right, good. Alicia, where are you at right now? New Jersey?
in New Jersey.
Oh, you're going to do some farming up in New Jersey?
Sure, why not?
Glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
Today we're going to we're going to talk about geographic farming or geofarming, as you may have heard it called. Couple takeaways we're going to have from today is what is farming or geofarming? Why do you farm? Where to farm and how to farm. Has anybody ever heard of it? Heard of geofarming? Melissa has. Brenda has. All right, cool. All right. Can everybody see my slides?
Yes.
I worked really hard in Canva on these farm slides, so I hope so. So what is geofarming? Geofarming, and I don't see my notes. That's awesome. I have to make it up as I go along. Geofarming is targeting specific geographic areas in your neighborhood, not in your area, not necessarily in your neighborhood. Nice. Courtney, go ahead.
Sorry.
You just making noises.
Yeah.
I have geofarmed before in my neighborhoods, and all it is targeting my entire neighborhood, well, most of my neighborhood, with postcards. Because I live in my neighborhood, people should know me. I've lived there long enough. That's all geofarming is. It's getting down to a specific area to farm. So why do you farm? Well, we're all looking for business, right? Anybody got too much business they want to send my way that are not crazy? All right, good. So why do you farm? I mean, you're looking for, got to build your database, right? I hope everybody on here has a database. Adam, you got a database? Adam, shame. Get the wet noodle out. I have preached this forever. I think everybody has to have some kind of database. And when I say a database, it doesn't have to be some fancy CRM program. I've got 1,593 people on a spreadsheet. So that's my database, but I use it. And those are people that I market to. You want to build a database so you have consistent clients over the years. You keep track of them. You know who you want to talk to, who you want to work with, who you want to repeatedly work with. And with people moving every 5 to 7 years, hopefully in 5 to 7 years, you get them again as a customer, right? Once you go through enough cycles of those and you build your database up, you don't have to market anymore. Okay, those people are calling you. So that's why you need a database. So farming helps you build that database. And if y'all got questions as we go through this, stop me, please. Or if you just want to make random noises like Courtney did, try to keep it down. Brand yourself as an expert. I'm currently farming my neighborhood, which is Kellswater. If y'all would please stay away from Kellswater because you're messing up my geofarming. But I've lived in Kannapolis my entire life. I work here, went to church here, serve here, own a business here. So I'm marketing myself as an expert. You would be surprised how many people, especially ones that move in the area, don't know a realtor. And that's unbelievable to me because 1 out of every 100 people in North Carolina have a real estate license. Listen to what I just said. 1 out of every 100 people have a real estate license. So there's 12 million people in North Carolina and 120,000 licensed real estate agents. Now you take away all the people under 18, that ratio goes way up, right? So separating yourself from everybody else, letting people know who you are, letting people know you have a real estate license. So I like to choose my neighborhood because again, I live there, my kids play there. I know my neighbors because God, they live right up on top of me. So I know them really well. um, but you know what? I don't go out every day waving my real estate license, but I want them to know I have a real estate license. And when they move, I can help them. I can help them with that. And the last thing you want is your neighbor to move and stick somebody else's sign in the ground. That has happened before, and that's not a good feeling. That's a really bad feeling. Stand out amongst the pack. We just talked about that. 1 out of every 100 people. So my neighborhood's got 600 homes. So let's just say there's 1,500 people in it. So there's at least 12 to 15 real estate agents in my neighborhood. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of competition. Luckily, 2 of them work for Lantern. So raise your price point. This is something I've had people talk about, and it probably more prevalent before COVID hit, but my price point in 2017 was $125,000. That was the average price of the home I sold. And the reason is because you could buy a mill house, 2-bedroom mill house in Kannapolis for $50,000, $60,000. I sold a bunch of them in 2017. So using and pinpointing geofarming allows you to target those neighborhoods that may have a bigger price point for you. Any questions so far? Y'all hold on 1 second. I'm gonna try to get my computer connected here to the screen at the office. We've had some people walk in. I don't want them to feel left out. So is anybody currently doing any farming, geo farming? Anybody? Brenda, can you give us an idea of what you're doing?
Sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. I've been sending out monthly mailers to a specific neighborhood. I'm not doing a lot. I'm trying to add some ever so often, but I haven't really gotten a response from it. I need to know what the next move is after, I've been hitting these people monthly. What can I do now?
Right. So we'll talk about that a little later on, but thank you for that. Anybody else doing any kind of farming? Want to talk about? Anybody here? Yep. All right. So let's go farming. Yay. So where do you farm? Brenda, how did you choose the place that you targeted?
Well, to me, it's a desirable neighborhood. It's a medium price point. The homes sell quickly in there. Maybe the turnover rate is not as great as I would like for it to be. It seems like people stay there for a long time. But I wanted something that I felt like that if they did choose to work with me, that I would be able to sell it rather quickly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So a couple of questions I think you ought to ask yourself when you're farming. And when you're trying to choose a farm is the area or neighborhood easy to get to? So if you live in Kannapolis, probably shouldn't be farming neighborhoods in Lake Norman, right? And I always tell people you sell what you know. I've sold $1 million homes and I don't like it. I like the paycheck, but I don't like, this is going to sound bad and judgmental, but I don't like the people. They're different people. Lake Norman people are not people Chris Puckett grew up with. So I would rather sell houses that I'm familiar with in Kannapolis, Concord, Salisbury area. So is the neighborhood easy to get to? Secondly, does the area or neighborhood have an acceptable turnover rate, which Brenda just brought up? And I'll give you an example. When I lived in Lantern Green in Kannapolis, we moved in 2020, so right before the pandemic and all that stuff hit, but nobody left Lantern Green. We had 240 homes in 1 year. We had 3 sales. So not the best area to choose. I'll give you another reason why that wasn't the best area to choose too in a minute, but yeah. So why am I sending postcards out to people that aren't moving? So make sure you have one, as Brenda brought up, is an acceptable turnover rate. Now that turnover rate, I don't have a magical number for you, but it should be more than 3 houses out of 240 a year. What's the absorption rate of the area or neighborhood, or how much, I don't want to get too technical here, but how much inventory is there right now of homes in that neighborhood, and how fast are they going to sell? Are they going to just sit on the market because there's a glut of homes? Think about, and probably not applicable in our area, but I live in Kellswater off of Kannapolis Parkway. What if they were going to put the world's largest pig farm right behind it, and everybody wanted to sell? And now out of 600 homes, 200 of them are on the market. Probably not the greatest area to farm, because your price point is going to be lower and you got so much competition. Here's an idea of how to calculate absorption rates. In the last 12 months, 15 homes have sold and 3 currently listed. So 1 home sells every 24.3 days. And it's going to take 2.43 months for the active homes to sell, which is not a bad rate. And those numbers are just made up. It's just an example. But you don't want to see something where the number of days on market or months on market is 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. And nowadays you probably wouldn't, but think about that as you're going through looking at these neighborhoods, trying to figure out which ones you want to market to. And I'll tell you one thing, Brenda, I don't know how you chose your neighborhood, but one thing I learned early on was I chose a neighborhood where I had some traction. And what I mean is I've sold a house there. I got a current listing there. Maybe I know somebody there, because I have chosen neighborhoods before that I liked and had a higher price point, but I didn't know anybody, didn't have any past sales. And I felt like I wasted my money. I didn't get any traction at all. I had one neighborhood in Concord where I got a listing. So I sent out just, coming soon, just listed, under contract, and sold cards, and all in probably a 30 or 45 day span. And I ended up getting 3 more listings from that. So don't be afraid to spend the money, because if you do it right and you choose wisely, that money should come back to you, no problem. But I also, what's that one? Oak Park in Concord on Highway 73. I don't know anybody in there that I know of. Never sold a house in there, but I chose to market to that neighborhood, and it was a miserable failure. So my thing has always been, you got to have a foot in the door somehow. Is the number of homes manageable for consistent marketing outreach? Now, this really goes back to, for me, it's about money. I got 600 homes in my neighborhood. That's a lot of money. If I'm sending out postcards every month, that's about $600 a month to all those homes. So what I do is I go in Realist and pull my mailing list, pull the addresses for all the homes in my neighborhood. And I think you can do that through RPR. Is that correct? Probably easier, I imagine. Anyway, But I'm gonna look through that list and I'm gonna pick out, and I'm gonna take out the people that had just bought their house in the last year or two. Cause I don't want to market to them because they're probably gonna stay there longer than the other people. So out of the 600, a lot of new construction there in our neighborhood. So that eliminated quite a few people right off the top. The other thing I'm going to do is look down the list of owners and I'm going to take out any real estate agents that pop out at me. I don't want to market to them. I'm going to take out any LLCs that I see, people that have rental homes. That's just one of my filters. I don't want to, because if the postcard goes to the property in your neighborhood, but somebody else owns it, they're just going to throw it away. So there's certain ways that you can cull through that 600 address list and make it a lot more manageable. So I got mine down, I think, to 400. Does one agent dominate listings for the neighborhood? So go back to Lantern Green. When I lived there, a lady named Heather Littrell also lived there. And Heather Littrell has been around since 1991 and one of the top producers in Cabarrus County. So not only were they not selling homes in that neighborhood, but the ones that did sell, Heather listed them all. And so I really wasted my time, but I learned a valuable lesson. Look and see who's selling homes in that neighborhood. Now, my neighborhood now, there's so many homes and so many sales that nobody dominates it. So hopefully that person will be me and I'll scare off agents. But yeah, just take a look and see what's sold in the past year, 2 years, and make sure one person's not dominating it. Any questions so far? All right. How to farm. Now, when I talk about farming, I'm not talking about going door to door. Nobody wants to see me knocking on their front door. That is a scary thought for me and probably a scary thought for the person on the other side of the door. So I'm talking postcards or mailers. You can even do constant contact with emails. I think a mixture of those probably is a good idea. I know our neighborhood, you can get, now I'm trying to think, there's a way to get email addresses for neighborhoods. I cannot think of it off the top of my head. Well, if you're in the HOA, it certainly helps because you'll have access to all those emails. So what's your budget? How much are you going to spend? So I'm spending right now $400 a month, I think, on my neighborhood. But if I sell one house, so $400 a month times 12 months is $4,800. I sell one house, my commission's probably going to be $10,000 or $12,000. So I'm going to take that chance that I'm okay spending that money. And that's scary, especially for new people who maybe don't have that money. And maybe you do a constant contact campaign. Maybe that's how you farm to them. Maybe you send them newsletters, electronic newsletters. Maybe you host events in their neighborhood. Our neighborhood has a dog park. We just had a grand opening and somebody sponsored it. They have food trucks all the time. Maybe you could sponsor a food truck, make that part of your farming as well. And then what's your frequency? I noticed Brenda said every month, I believe it was, Brenda, that you're marketing to them. Is that correct? Every month, which I'm doing every other week. So I've heard studies that say that you have to contact somebody, I think it's 8 times before they see your name. So they're going to see my postcards, but are they going to see my name? Most people do what with postcards? Throw them away, trash them. Well, I'm going to send you enough. You're eventually at least going to read it on the way to the trash. And then hopefully it starts clicking in your mind, hey, I need a real estate person. That Chris Puckett sure did spend a lot of money sending me postcards. So I'm going to reach out to him. Any questions so far?
So Chris, you don't recommend like knocking doors and dropping little gifts or something like that, little souvenirs or?
Christine, that's a good question. I'm not going to knock on doors because I'm a major introvert. I don't like talking to people I don't know. So I'm not going to do it. And I think it's also a safety issue nowadays. I mean, if you live in the neighborhood, I can understand it. Using pop by gifts or dropping off gifts or door hangers. I know a lot of people do those. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but you can't just do a one round of door hangers and expect people to call you. You know, you've got to follow that up with and maybe an email or postcards or something. So all of that needs to be part of your marketing campaign, not just. I kind of giggle when I see an agent come through our neighborhood and put door hangers on our door, because then I'll never hear from them again. And they just wasted a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of time. So if you're doing it as part of your campaign, I don't have a problem with it. But if you're just going to do it one time and go on to another neighborhood, then you're wasting your time, I think.
That's a good tip. Thank you.
You're welcome. Connie, what were you going to say?
How long do you wait to get any evidence for traction? So you said you monthly or every week.
Yeah.
How long do you give it? So I mean, what is it, a year?
So Connie asked here at the office, she said, how long do you wait? If I'm mailing out stuff every other week, how long am I going to continue to do that? Because that's expensive. Yeah. I think you've got to, I think the numbers I've heard is I think you got to contact somebody 8 times. Does that sound familiar, Melissa? I think you got to contact somebody 8 times. So it's going to be 3 to at least 4 months before I stop. But if you're doing it monthly, then it's going to maybe longer. But you can't just do, like we were talking with Christina, you can't just do one door hanger or one postcard and expect business, because it's just not going to happen. If you're like me, I just throw stuff away on the way home, you know. So it's got to be a consistent. Now, the one I did in Kaiser Woods and Concord, I got the listing from people at church, and I started sending out postcards. And the next 2 listings I went to in Kaiser Woods had my postcards on the refrigerator. So those worked really well. Did the same thing at I don't know, it's at the end of Pitt School Road and Roberta Road. It's Providence Manor or something. I got 3 listings out of it. So you just got to be consistent, and it helps if you, again, if you know somebody there, or you got a champion that lives there, somebody that's going to say, yeah, this is a great person to work with. So I don't have a number, I got to be honest. Because my campaign is not just going to be the 8 contacts with postcards. It's going to be going to the pool. It's going to be going on the greenway and talking to people and doing different things. So I also got a newsletter that goes out through Constant Contact to them. Now I will tell you, you will get people that will call you and say, hey, can you take me off your mailing list? I had one guy who was really ugly to me about how did you get my address, and can you take me off your list? You're wasting my time. And come to find out, the guy went to church with me. So, I wanted to ask him, hey, you took a lot of time just to fuss about a postcard. You must be really passionate about not having postcards in your mailbox. But so that don't get frustrated by that either. When I used to go, I call it mailbox stuffing, but we would go and put flyers in people's newspaper slots, you know, because you can't mess with people's mailboxes, but you sure can mess with their newspaper slots. So we would go driving around, putting them in there. And the only calls I ever got, and that was Oak Park too. The only calls I got, 3 calls from people at Oak Park that said, I got your paper. It's in my yard. I guess it flew out of the box. Quit littering in my neighborhood. They were very ugly too. So, but again, I told you Oak Park, I don't have any traction there. I don't know anybody there. I've never sold a house there. So, don't get frustrated if you don't see immediate results. Any other questions, comments? I'm gonna show you a couple websites here real quick, if I can make the technology work. Prospects Plus is one that I use for postcards. Hold on. There we go. I haven't taught on Zoom in a long time. I forgot how to do this. Bear with me. There we go. I'm going to show you a website that I use for postcards. Can everybody online see this Prospect Plus webpage now? Okay. So this is one I use, and this website will allow you to do email or not email, but postcard campaigns, and they will time them. They will time them out for you. What are you doing? Oh. What? I got it right. Ah, crap. Okay. We're having technical issues at the office, folks. This website, I'll send you all the slides, by the way. But this website will plan out the postcards for you in a campaign. You pop in a mailing list and it will handle everything else for you. So if I set up a postcard campaign today, which is Thursday, sure. By Monday, the people that I mail them to will have postcards. Now that's going to cost you about, I think it's about 95 cents per postcard, but that's postage and I don't have to touch them. So if you go to this website, prospectplus.com, go down to categories and go to geo farming. They got all kinds of templates, all kinds of, it will ask you, do you want to deal with, let's just do geo farming. They've got all kinds of campaigns here that you can use. We'll pick that one. So you go in, you load, and I'm already a member here. Come on. I broke it. Try a different finger. I'll give you a different finger. All right, we won't do that. But this website to me is very helpful. It's easy. I don't have to lick stamps. I don't have to grab postcards and put addresses on them. And yeah, 90 cents or 95 cents per postcard is kind of high, but it's also really, really easy. Very, very easy to deal with. And if you want to know how to find those mailing lists, I'll be glad to show you, but we don't have time to do that in here because I'm not the greatest at it, but I can do it and it takes a while. But I'll be glad if you want to come by the office or shoot me a text, let me know. I'll be glad to show you how to get those lists. And I don't, do you know if RPR does that?
What's this? One of us is not.
I think I got mine from GIS.
Okay, so you probably did it the same way I did it then, sounds like.
Tell us if you find out how we may be able to get email addresses for neighborhoods. Like later, if you find
I
out.
will. Yeah, I know mine is just through the HOA.
Yeah, I don't have a.
Yeah. But I will. I think what I used though to get the addresses was Realist through the MLS. So Realist also tells you when they bought their house. Is it currently listed? So it helps you filter those out. That helped me a ton because I didn't want to. You're not going to get in trouble sending a postcard to somebody that's got their house listed because there's a disclaimer at the bottom of it. But I don't want to waste my money on somebody that's already got their house listed. Again, I'm trying to refine where my money's going to. So, the other website I wanted to show you where I pulled a lot of this information from is NARRPR.com. And when I send you all this link, or I'm going to send you the PowerPoint presentation for this because it's got the links in here. But it's got an article from RPR on the ultimate guide to geofarming, and a lot of stuff that I talked about today was pulled from this. But it's got a lot of different links to help you. We won't go through a lot of them, but there's just a ton of information. Calculating turnover. RPR is something that I'm not very familiar with, which shame on me because I should be. I've heard it's very user friendly and got a ton of information in it. So that's one thing I'm going to work on this year is getting more familiar with that. Hopefully it'll help with my geofarming too. So any questions, comments? That's all I got, I think. I will tell you this, don't be scared to do this. You're going to spend some money, but don't be afraid of it. You got to spend money in this business to make money unless you want to go door to door consistently, which I do not. So try to make it easy as possible with you. And I've set my campaign up and I haven't touched it. And it's been going for about a month. Two mailings have went out. So that's a good thing. I don't have to worry about it. So now I can focus on sponsoring a food truck when it comes in their neighborhood or something like that. So, do what now? Yeah. Yeah. I get emails now every 2 weeks that says your campaign is ready, and then next day your campaign has been mailed out, and then 2 days I get an email that says your campaign's been delivered. And I don't have to do any of that. So as you will find out in this business, your time is money. And for me, somebody to do, or a website to do that, I'm willing to pay a little bit extra to get that convenience because it helps me a ton.
Chris, this might be a silly question, but how do you sponsor a food truck? I mean, do you pay for the food they're going to give out, or what was that?
Yeah, you just partner with the food truck. What I've done before is just partner with them and advertise with them. I'm not necessarily paying for everybody's food, and even in my neighborhood, in 600 people, 600 houses, the money is not that much, But the publicity you get on your Facebook group that, hey, thanks Chris Puckett for sponsoring lobster roll or whatever that Maine lobster guy is, one of those. I think it's worth the $100, $200 you're going to spend because it's not a lot. At least in our neighborhood, we just don't get a lot of. I don't think we get a lot of people that come out. But to me, the Facebook mentions in the marketing is definitely worth it. But again, that's got to be part of your campaign, not your whole campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Brenda, did that help answer any of your questions?
Yeah, I've been tossing around ideas about what maybe I could do to follow up with my monthly mailers, but I think maybe I should target with some of the postcards as well. Like I said, I don't really have a neighborhood that I could market to like that.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing and maybe hit them a little bit harder. And I have, received an email from people talking about like what you said, take me off of your mailing list. So
I don't worry about these.
somebody's opening the mail. And I bought some really nice, you know, like this month I did these beautiful green envelopes.
Mhm.
And I bought some stickers to put on them. So, trying to make them look appealing. Hopefully, they are opening them. But I had looked at doing the postcards before, and it never occurred to me to kind of like hit them more than once a month. So I'm gonna try that as well.
The one thing I also do is I try to keep all of my postcards looking the same. I want them all to look the same because as you're headed to the trash can to throw my postcard away, after 4 to 6 times, you're going to remember you're throwing Chris Puckett's postcard away. And when I need to sell this house, I'm going to call Chris Puckett. So,
Chris, instead of me
yes.
making random noise, I was trying to get my puppy to come in here and listen to you, but she wouldn't come. Can you just give us a quick reminder of what needs to be included on that postcard to keep us in the rules?
Yeah, anytime you're advertising real estate services, you need to make sure that your firm's on there. That's all. It's got to say Lantern Realty on it.
We don't have to have the equal housing and the realtor logo or any of that.
Not by commission rules, you do not.
You all have to approve our marketing material.
So that's one thing we're going to talk about because we're going to rewrite our independent contractor agreement. But when I was up in Raleigh taking the update instructor seminar, we brought that up because we're like, hey, how do you manage marketing for 100 people in your office? If your EXP, it's 1,100 or 1,200, right? And they said, if you put it in your independent contractor agreement that you follow these guidelines, and it's all approved. Right. So as long as you put the firm's name on all of your advertising, you're in good shape with us. So no, you don't have to run everything that you do, TikTok video, Instagram post by Dina or Jessica or whoever your pick is. But that's a good question, Courtney.
And I want to ask one other question totally off topic when you get through.
Okay. You want everybody to hear it? You want me to call you?
I think it's a good thing that maybe you can answer. I think I'm probably not the only person with a question.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Anybody else got any questions on farming? That was all I had, but I will be sure to send you my PowerPoint slides so you have it. And it's also got these links in it if you have questions. But again, if you have questions about downloading the mailing list, call me, text me, let me know. I'll be glad to sit down and show you how I did it. And maybe we can learn from RPR and figure out an easier way to do it. But the way I do it is not incredibly difficult. It's just a lot of steps. So, all right, Courtney, go ahead.
Okay, it's my last question, I promise. The other day, an email came out. I think it's from the NAR, where we get that Q&A
Yeah.
maybe once a week. And it was about when is a contract considered accepted. I remember when I was in school, and this is why I'm asking you because you're teaching it right now. It was this whole thing about the mailbox. And as soon as the letter was in the mailbox, contract was considered accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And that entire answer that was given was really not the same way. It was, no, it has to be signed. It's not even considered accepted until you have the paperwork, which I get. But I just recall back in the day, it was a little bit more flexible. Like if they tell you it's accepted, it's accepted. So this was
in my class, and I don't remember the email you're talking about, but in my class, the question that always comes up, and trust me, Trying to explain that to pre-licensing student, you just want to go play in traffic afterwards. But the way I try to differentiate it is an acceptable, it may be an accepted contract, but is it legally enforceable? Right? So if I call you, Courtney, and say, hey, Courtney, my buyer accepts the terms of your seller's counter offer. All right, we've got a contract, right? But it's not legally enforceable.
Correct,
Not legally enforceable until you get all the signatures on it.
correct.
So I think that might be the difference, what you're thinking.
And it was also talking about, okay, so then what do you tell other agents? I felt like it was getting a little bit technical, but if I say, Chris, I've accepted, great, great, let's get the paperwork and let's do that. Then what happens as some other agent calls me and says, I've got a buyer coming in, will you accept an offer? I'm going to say no, because we're waiting on paperwork. It's under contract. And that kind of indicated that you really couldn't say that.
Well,
Yes,
to me,
yes.
you don't have a contract. I'm going to tell them we are waiting on signatures. We have agreed upon verbally, but we don't have signatures.
That's okay.
So yeah, you
Okay,
can
that's
go
what I
show
said.
it if you want to.
Right.
Then if they slide in a better offer before you get signatures, then you're going to have to deal with the other agent.
Have
But
right. Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So there's a difference between accepted offer and legally enforceable.
Okay. And I guess that's where they're coming from, is that's where
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else got any questions?
Thank you, Chris. This was good.
Thanks, Christina. All right. Well, y'all have a good one, and I'll probably send you out everything by the end of the week, as far as the PowerPoint goes, and that way you'll have all the links in it. So call me if you have any questions, or shoot me a text or email. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Chris.
Bye.